with any come out channel social so I'm say how say AGH Politics Avenue. On your political source training because make headlines near Jemre now EDB Akroma ewa ha ni dem ne ho braximo and EDB kanya message so bitima subscribe to the channel. It's a notification bell so share na for front so answer into me and kabi. And EDB ne ho braximo and mami emfo inra eye political highways ni so a oni eje dema enya aksem koto akra. Na ni nyina ne say okay eye former Speaker of Parliament under another down class Akuffo Addo's regime near friend Professor Aaron Mike okay papa no okay Mahama to one choga krase so obeka ya emra no you Speaker of Parliament no on one kasa ne party members eto aba editiano say omuhia no as speaker eno anaso wono any free ho ama eye Honorable Speaker of Parliament Aban Baben itimi ebe transfer obeka isasem okay very well what na no atum efa eye NPP omu sika sema se op position bi ewo NPP amoykonuma secretary papa yi atimi atintesi kokko egomu so a waka mi bi se a suicidal pathway and must be avoided at any asem koto akra na okasaye kekomo hui yejin kwakonum mesre se Professor Aaron Mike yankora so ye na yenhwe ne yekọ enede eba aha AGH Politics Avenue nyamehwa se wajemre ewa sei na yemo ran seminim abra papa no susuja e de agu ni party members so efa eye monetization of the flag bearership AGH Politics Avenue.
The payment of that 4 million development fee. That's coming up next because former Speaker of Parliament, Professor Aaron Michael Quay, has stated that the exorbitant fee being demanded from the intended flag bearers of the NPP is a suicidal pathway and must be avoided. Now, a stalwart of the party is saying that election was not or is not an auction and the political party could not be for sale. Here are excerpts of what he said, which was published earlier today by Graphic Online, and it says, quote, monocracy is not democracy, and the political party must not be seen to be pursuing that pathway. That's Professor Michael Quay. Our first flag bearer, Professor Albert Dubois, whose national campaign team I was a part of, was not elected with any monetary consideration or qualification whatsoever. This has followed through reasonable nomination filing fees over the years. It will become a jingoistic malperformance of he who pays the piper calls the tune. There is a need to give the party reasonable and considerable autonomy and not drive it into the hands of deep-pocketed men and women. It is not any money that can be accepted, even if offered. Due diligence is important to ensure sanity and sanctity in the body politics. And also, we saw a man from abroad who came and bought his way to Parliament and disgraced us when he was arrested, tried and jailed in the USA for cocaine. I'm sure for those who are, please, up to the political history of this country, you'll remember the man is talking about, Eric Amoateng. He references this as the basis for the argument that he makes. He says it's going to be suicidal for the NPP to go on this path, and that's going to hurt the sanctity and also the sanity of our democracy. I don't know if it's one that you agree with, the position that the Venerable Professor Aaron Michael Quay has espoused on this matter of the development fee that we just read.
Well, I couldn't agree more with the Venerable Professor. But the question that comes to mind is, what did his report say about monetization within the party itself, internal politics of the party itself? Because we do not have access to that particular report. Mm-hmm. And I'm very much clear in my mind that this particular issue might have read its ugly head in the report. And that's the more reason why he is taking a stance against this particular monetization.
The monetization?
Yes.
You think it was part of the report? You're just assuming?
I should think so, because you see, whenever money is used in a manner that is detrimental, right, to the development of humanity, definitely people are going to complain about that. And of course, you are virtually creating a situation where so many other qualified members of the party will not have the opportunity to continue to stand, right? To stand and contest for positions that they so desire. Now, my position is that, look, this particular development fee that we are talking about, apart from the fact that it can only propel you, but if they use that to disqualify, that you've not been able to raise this development fund, therefore you're not a viable candidate, they're going to create a serious problem for the party.
Well, that was not the official position of the party at the least. But then again, the Deputy General Secretary indicated that there were guidelines that the various flag bearer hopefuls were supposed to meet. And at least 2 out of the 5 hopefuls did indicate that they were demanded to pay the 5 million. As to whether it was going to be a prerequisite for contesting or not is what was not really clear. But then again, Kwabena Japan, as of yesterday, hadn't paid, but he took part in the ballot. So what's the position?
So the point is that it will be very suicidal on the part of the party to go on that tangent, because I think it is not in any way a qualification for one to contest or otherwise. But if that's why I said that probably it puts you in a particular pedestal as far as the party is concerned, in terms of how you propel yourself, how you appeal yourself to the members of the party, the delegates, and so on and so forth. So it's like it gives you a particular clout within the party. But I will want to believe that that is not a precondition for qualification or otherwise. Because if it is, then definitely going to create a particular monster for themselves, of which they will not be able to clear, right? So that is the more reason why the venerable professor, right, is complaining, in a very sophisticated manner, right? He's not coming out plainly, but he's virtually making everybody appreciate the fact that, look, the path that the NPP is going is not the right path. And that is the more reason why he used these, sophisticated ideas.
Right, because if you read it, if you read what he said in that interview with the Graphic, it's quite clear about the danger of monocracy and its impact on our democracy.
Totally.
And the fact that, yes, it goes down to history. Says Professor Dubois, the first flag bearer of the party, that's the NPP, he was a member of the campaign team of Professor Dubois. And he was not elected with any monetary consideration. But then you are a political analyst. You make a strong argument. Times have changed. I mean, there's a lot that has become of our body politics, where delegates see this process and these moments as their cash moment, the cocoa season. So they'll make demands. And flag bearer hopefuls will have no choice than to as it were, meet these demands, or you lose out, no matter how bright your ideas are. So that's the reality of our current situation that you cannot run away from, is it not?
Fred, the point is that probably the party, the mother party itself, from the central point of view, has not come out to explain what goes into the 4 million. Because I have said that, look, you need to put structures in place to ensure that whatever you take from the presidential hopefuls will be those that will be used to offset the cost that these delegates are going to bear.
Right.
And the party is supposed to do it in such a manner that any presidential hopeful that goes beyond that particular tangent to do the unthinkable could be disqualified. So we want to see or think that the 4 million is aimed at something of that sort. Their travel allowance, probably their per diem, their accommodation, right? So they will take away that idea of a presidential candidate or hopeful doing so on his own, right, without recourse to the party. that in a way will reduce corruption at that particular level. And it will suggest, I don't know, because these guidelines haven't come out. Because the party is supposed to come out to say that any presidential candidate that is seen, right, doing A, B, C, and D without recourse to the party will be disqualified. That in itself is a Herculean task, but if they're able to do so, that will mean that they are cracking the whip and the discipline, right? They're bringing discipline within the party. That is why I'm of the view that the party could have told, right, the generality of the public that this 4 million development fund is to ensure that all delegates coming from all parts of the country, wherever they are going to centralize, right, to do the voting, it is going to take part of A, B, C, and D. Or if the party doesn't have the wherewithal to take upon itself the cost, right, or bearing the cost of the organization of this particular election, probably that is why they're asking them to pay the 4 million.
Oh, so you want more details about what the development fee is for?
Certainly.
And why 4 million cedis? Because this comes on the back of some of the aspirants saying at some point they had to give the party money.
Yes.
In the early part of the year, party to run the affairs of the party. You heard Kenneth Japan say that at some point, and there's also saying Dr. Bawumia made some donations as well. So it's about development. In fact, you have some elements within the party say, look, if you can't pay this, then go, because you must show your mettle to be able to raise funds as a flag bearer of the party going into an election.
Yeah, any presidential, candidate worth a salt should be in a position to be very resourceful, especially contesting a ticket of the NDC or the NPP. You must be resourceful. You must be networked, right? So that obviously people who believe in your vision and mission, right, will want to fund you. And that is the only way to go. But if you cannot attract these kinds of funding, then definitely you do not in any way qualify to be a flag bearer of any of these two major parties. I hear some people say that, oh, Gen Zs, it is their period and whatever and whatnot. Look, you must live a life worthy of emulation. You must be seen, manifestly seen, to have lived a certain life. You must be manifestly seen to have influenced the life of people, right? In terms of employment, in terms of investment, in terms of manufacturing, industries, and all those things. Because you just cannot tell us that just because you have brilliant ideas, you want to become president. Because people must buy into those ideas, be resourceful enough, be networked so that people can fund that.
In a minute, do you share the fear that Professor Aaron Michael Quay has, that he says there's a need to give the party reasonable and considerable autonomy and not drive it into the hands of deep-pocketed men and women, which will then result in the not preferred candidate being elected, but how much the person can give?
Certainly. I mean, that is the ideal. So why is it the case that the party is virtually complaining in the voice of the Venerable Professor that, it shouldn't be those who have deep pocket? Certainly, you find yourself in opposition. When you were in government, there was nothing of that sort. It was all about resources being made available for the campaigning to start, and then it continues. But now, you find yourself in a situation where you want the ideal candidate that the people prefer to win. It is not about deep pocket. Deep pocket, as far as our politics, right, is concerned, it takes a lot, because I don't want to think that the Venerable Professor is creating some kind of hypocrisy, of a sort. Maybe he's sounding a bit hypocritical. Now he finds himself in opposition, and then all of a sudden you have the right words to use, right, the right buttons to press. It should not be the case. At first, when you were in government, you should have pointed out things of that nature. So certainly when Dr. Bawumia became the flag bearer and an establishment candidate for that matter, in terms of resources, there was nothing that he lacked, because we're told that, from the other camp, he was able to pay 400 Ghana cedis to all the delegates, allegedly. And then Mr. Kennedy Japan, who was virtually not in government but in opposition, was able to raise 300. And that is the more reason why he was able to match them boot for boot. But if today you are complaining about the fact that it shouldn't be for the one who has deep pocket, then what is it that you are complaining about? Because you ought to have said that when, your preferred candidate and you guys found yourself in government, you ought to have complained in that manner as well.
Dr. Jonathan Sanchotri, appreciate your time. Senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, thank you for joining us. 112 days away from today, that is the day that the NPP delegates will go to the polls with this ballot paper, with these positions to determine who will lead the party going into election 2028. This is Ghana Tonight. 20,000 population in 5 communities are grappling to access potable water. Currently, turbidity levels in the Birim River, the plant's water source, ranges between 5,000 nephelometric turbidity units, that's NTU, and 8,000 NTU. This far exceeds the plant's design capacity to treat water with turbidity levels between 117, that's 117 NTU, and 200 since it became operationalized in 2014. Let's take a listen to the Eastern Regional Manager of the Ghana Water Company Limited, Engineer Paul Cletus Akpanya.
This treatment plant was commissioned in 2014, and at the time of commissioning, we had turbidity of 117 NTU, 117 NTU. And the treatment plant we have, like I mentioned earlier, is a package plant. It is to treat water with turbidity not beyond 500 NTU. But we started having very high turbidity figures at this location. We had figures going as high as 22,000. So when you have 22,000 turbidity, your color is over 45,000. And that when that happens, our plant is unable to treat. So in August this year, when we experienced the 22,000 figure, we were forced to shut down the treatment plant because the pumps we have, right from the raw water pumps through to the high lift, are clean water pumps. They are not designed to abstract or pump dirty water or water that has sand and other particles inside. So when you do that, the pump has moving parts. So the pump will deteriorate, we'll have to repair at a very frequent rate. And then doing treatment, apart from the increased chemical cost, we have to throw away a lot of water because you have to desilt continuously. At the point, they have to even leave the drain line continuously on because when you close, because you have to shut and then desilt at a particular interval, you'll be having what we call turnover. The water will not settle. Now, when you add the coagulant, the flux are supposed to form, settle, then the clean water decant for filtration. But at certain times, that will not happen because of the level of siltation. So when you get to that extent, all you have to do is to shut down the treatment plant. So as we speak, Chebi Water Treatment Plant has been shut down for about 2 months now because the turbidity figure has gone beyond what the package plant we have over here can treat. As at yesterday and this morning, we're having figures averaging between 5,000 and 8,000, which is still way beyond what the plant can treat.
Congress, that's the TUC, was at the facility to observe the turbidity levels of the water. General Secretary of the TUC, Joshua Ansah, says it is time for government to take decisive action beyond the rhetoric. This is the TUC Secretary General. Take a look.
We have seen the damage. We can confidently describe the situation as a heinous crime being perpetrated on Ghanaians by the activities of the few greedy criminals. It is clear to us that if Galamsey is not stopped, Ghana Water will not have any water to treat for us in the next few years. Galamsey is a threat to our collective survival. The state and our government can no longer stand aloof, failing to act, and is shaking government's sacred responsibility to protect Ghanaians and the future of their country, and acting half.
Wei eyan sama hodo chimi koso e wo channel no so mamna asese wo jemre e wa da sane so ba de ne dia dombi edumiani anu ya besan aba awram na yaso mo kwan so kosokra aha AGH Politics Avenue.